After all these years, I've found you.
Who the hell are you?
My name is Ego. And I'm your dad, Peter.
Dude, seriously. It's the Dude Seriously Show.
Hey guys, welcome to the Dude Seriously Show. We're on the road to Infinity War, so each week we've been doing each MCU movie in chronological order, and it's brought us to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Molly.
I'm Ben.
I'm Michael.
And we're talking Guardians 2. So, what did you think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
It was incredible. Good story. Overall, I thought that, the colors were incredible. Obviously, soundtrack, always amazing. Overall, loved it.
3 words for me, Kurt freaking Russell.
Yeah.
This is a god among men, top 3 of the best actors, I think. Loved having him as an addition, and I've gone back and forth, which is my favorite, Guardians 2, and I think I can finally say the second one is my favorite. You see them as the team, they're finally established. I love the story, and the soundtrack in this film, I think, goes better than the first one.
I'm with you on everything. Kurt Russell, I like the story and generally the movie a little bit better. It's great to see the team working together, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is actually my second favorite MCU movie, so I hold this one in high regard, and I'm just chomping at the bit to talk more about it.
Yeah, this one definitely goes in my top 5. The thing with Guardians of the Galaxy is the other Marvel movies I tend to nitpick, like, well, that's not really what the costume looks like in the comics, that's not, they changed that, but going into Guardians of the Galaxy, I wasn't familiar with them. So when I went to see it, I had nothing to compare it to. So it was, you just go into it with an open mind. And I really enjoyed both Guardians movies, but this one especially.
Yeah, and the movie just right out of the gate is fun, and we see a young Kurt Russell.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
He did an interview and he said 95% of that de-aging was makeup. His makeup artist has been with him, I think it was 8 to 10 years, and flat out said, look, I can do this. I know his face. I can de-age him. And Kurt said, saw myself, took pictures, sent it to Goldie, the kids, and they all went, whoa. Yeah, look who's back. It's amazing.
Unreal. It looks like they filmed it like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It
I'm
does.
convinced they used a time machine.
Yep.
It's probably the best de-aging I think I've ever seen.
I agree. And Marvel has some high watermarks for de-aging. Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War. I mean,
I forgot about that.
They're
Michael
so amazing.
Douglas.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And this is the high watermark for me. It is amazing. But that whole scene, we come in and we see Meredith Quill driving in the car with, Ego, and they're singing Brandy. And the first time you see the movie, it's like, oh, Brandy, great song, whatever. But really, the story of Brandy is the story of this movie.
It's the whole tone right there.
As they point out later in the film. But, the sailor from far away that brings the gift. And, it's just, it's so perfect. It's like the movie was written around the song.
Absolutely. Right. I think it was.
And jumping into the soundtrack, too. I mean, that really is the case. There are some interesting theories out there that, Volume 2 and Volume 1, the mixtapes that Meredith made for Peter, are the story of her life. And in Volume 2, it's really interesting. Mr. Blue Sky is Ego.
Right.
This unattainable, come a little bit closer, the whole skirmish. You've got Southern Nights, like a night in Missouri, like there's so many songs on this soundtrack that you could see where Meredith Quill would say, like, oh, that reminds me of this, or that reminds me of that. And it's really interesting, but the opening scene with the Guardians, then we see them fighting that squid monster for the Sovereign, and we hear...
Is it a Rathtar?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, we keep those in the Star Wars corner. But it did kind of look like Star Wars Rathtar for sure. But we hear one of our favorite bands, Electric Light Orchestra. Yeah. It was so awesome. And it's just the perfect song for that intro. And
Baby Groot dancing the whole time.
Now he's a baby and he's dancing, and it's like a new character. James Gunn actually said that it's not the original Groot. Yeah. It's like, Groot's son, or like a new Groot or whatever, which is fine. I mean,
It works.
Yeah, but seeing him dance, like right off the bat, like that. There's so many moments in this movie, especially on the first viewing, that just, I'll never forget in the theater because it's so inventive. Just like the first Guardians. I mean, it's a lightning in a bottle thing.
Then you see Drax, of course, and he thinks that you can't pierce the skin from the outside or the inside. You can pierce the skin from the inside, but not from the outside. So Drax does exactly what you think he's gonna do. He jumps in the throat of the giant squid monster.
And it single-handedly vanquished the beast.
It's amazing. And I think that it's such a nice parallel to Age of Ultron and Civil War. You know, we open with Guardians 2. The team has been established. We know where everybody's roles are, and the movie opens with us seeing them do what they do best.
Right.
Kick butt and save the galaxy. And
Exactly.
it's a lot like Civil War and Age of Ultron, where those movies open where we see the Avengers doing what they do best. And
Right.
I think that that's just a nice parallel for these team building movies to have that intro that establishes, okay, here's the team dynamic, here's what everybody's been up to, here's how they interact now. And this movie just opened masterfully with Kurt Russell and with the Guardians right off the
Definitely.
bat.
Knock it out of the park immediately.
Yep. So Yondu in this movie, you know, in the first film, Yondu is he's a great character, but he's a supporting character. And in this, they really upped the ante with Michael
He
Rooker.
kills it, man.
Yeah.
Hey there, jackass! Love that part.
He's great, and the best part about it to me is seeing this relationship between Rocket and Yondu form. Seeing Rocket and Yondu kind of bicker at it, and Yondu's the older, wiser one, and realizes that they're the same character.
It's very emotional, kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
There's the laughs, there's the tears, you get all of it.
Yeah.
Yondu goes from a character you don't even know if you can trust to at the end being like the father figure and one of the heroes of the movie.
Yondu in the first one, I feel like you don't know him. You like him as a character, but you're just not so familiar with him to be able to make a call on what you expect him to do. But them building his character over this movie and like seeing him, you know, because he's a smart ass basically, just like Rocket. And again, with their relationship, it's like they relate to each other, but they're only aware of each other up until then. And that was so cool to watch.
I know when they finished, James Gunn had tweeted out, I believe, that Drax steals the show in this, but I think Yondu steals the show.
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They're all so good, though. I mean, there's really not a weak part of this film from a character standpoint. And James Gunn, the way he writes and directs is always so character-driven anyhow, but this is like the hallmark for him. It's awesome.
Definitely.
And then, of course, Yondu's death scene is just heartbreaking.
I think
is
everybody
heart-wrenching.
in the theater had, teary-eyed
Yeah.
during that.
Yeah, you don't expect to love Yondu as much as you do by like maybe like the middle of the movie is when you really get a grip on like what you realize that he is doing for everybody else around him.
It's a beautiful scene, that funeral.
It's
I
amazing.
think it's awesome.
So
You get,
nice.
Stallone, a nice addition, and Yondu's lines, Mary Poppins, and
Yeah.
he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. I mean, awesome.
It's interesting, too, because the later half of Phase 3 has a lot to do with family and fatherhood, starting with this. We've got, obviously, the ego Yondu thing in this. Spider-Man Homecoming has that, Stark being the father figure, whether you like that or not, it is that way.
It totally is.
Yeah, and then Black Panther is all about family and fatherhood and living up to that. And, you can make draws and conclusions elsewhere, too, but it's interesting to see how much of a role that plays in these films. And of course, Infinity War, we'll see a little bit of that with Gamora and Nebula and their father, Thanos.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to come full circle. So maybe we're building towards something really big there. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll know here in a couple weeks when Infinity War drops. But
For sure.
yeah, really exciting stuff to see what's lying ahead.
Can't wait.
So talking about Yondu brings on some heavy emotions, but the heaviest scene, in my opinion, is when Star-Lord is talking to Ego, and Ego's telling him about his role in the universe, and that he is basically a god among men. He is above all others, and
He gets around.
yeah. But not like the Beach Boys.
No.
Yeah, not quite. But, Ego reveals that he put the tumor in Meredith Quill's head.
I remember the theater literally just, when that happened, just shocked. And, as you said, you knew Russell's the bad guy right there.
Yep.
No turning back.
You think that, I don't trust him, but you don't think for a second that he could have ever put the tumor in Quill's mom.
Takes it to a whole new level.
It is a whole new level of just, being the enemy, the bad guy. And Quill's face just changes. I thought that was interesting to see him go from, being in awe of everything and then immediately changing and start just shooting at him.
And it's so powerful, and it starts to set up Ego as a villain too, because
Right.
we see Star-Lord shoot at him, and yeah, it blows holes in him and things like that,
But it's not
gonna
really
take
affecting
more
him.
than that.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like a little subtle
Right.
planting of that seed that it's going to take a lot more.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And there's also the scene where Ego and Star-Lord are talking, and Star-Lord asks why, he didn't come back to see her, and they get in a little shouting match and says, you couldn't possibly know what it would feel like to have to want to return to that planet and know that she's not there.
Right.
And Star-Lord says, I know exactly what that feels like.
That's the zombies.
Yeah.
She's not there.
Right.
Man, we're making all kinds of 60s references today. It's great, but it's just crazy to see, it's just written so well.
Well, their relationship, how you think, oh, there's so much potential. This is going to go somewhere. Then they play the game of catch, which I think that's such a great scene. It's
Oh, yeah.
emotional. It's humorous. It's sad. It's great. And then you see where it leads. Ego has those other intentions.
Looking back at it, it's just like a knife to the heart when you think about the catch scene. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Because
Like,
Ego can hear everything on
Right,
the planet,
right.
so he heard that that's important to Star-Lord, so he knows that that's how he's going to get
To
to
earn
his
his
heart.
trust, yeah.
And the first time you watch it, that feels so real.
does.
He's finally connecting with his dad, and it was all just because he wanted to use him.
Planned it out.
Exactly.
Mm.
You bad, Kurt.
But you're awesome in this movie.
Oh, yeah. In a great
You're
way.
great.
Yeah.
We love Kurt.
Just the character. So in this movie, we talked about it, we have Sylvester Stallone, and it's a little Tango and Cash reunion. We've got Kurt
Right.
Russell, we've got Sly Stallone. It's pretty cool. They never share a scene together, but that's just...
They were at the premiere together. And I
Yeah.
saw them do an interview. I was like, all right, that's closest we'll get to Tango and Cash. But
Unless they reboot the Tango and Cash cinematic universe.
you never know.
I'd go see that.
days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
It's a really small role for Sylvester Stallone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's an A-lister and has been for a long time. And, to see him in a smaller supporting role makes you wonder what's coming up farther down the road.
Yeah. Well, we see the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics at the end
Right.
come to salute Yondu at the funeral. So, I don't know, maybe they said, hey, you've got to do Guardians 2, kind of as a gimme. You're going to have a smaller role, but we're building it so that there can be a full-fledged Guardians down the line.
Well, you get Ving Rhames in there, too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's no small.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and the computer thing, that is Miley Cyrus.
I miss you guys so much.
I was literally about to ask you right before we started. I'm like, I know that she's in it somehow,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't remember which one. I feel like she is the furthest that you would assume
Yeah.
She
would
is
be
out
in
there.
that movie at all. She's definitely out there, but you don't expect Miley Cyrus to be in Guardians of the Galaxy at all.
Yeah, and then the squid guy that does the little thumbs up thing,
Yeah.
it's the same kind of magic that Doctor Strange uses when you see
Oh,
him
yeah.
do those things. So, I don't know, maybe they're going to be like a pseudo Avengers thing, having their
Right.
own little Doctor Strange, having their own, pretty cool.
It's wild.
Yeah. So another really interesting thing about this movie is the fact that the team intentionally gets split up. That's something really unusual. Usually in, Avengers movies or even, Star Wars or whatever, when the team gets split up, it's by matters out of their own control.
Right.
Well, the ship crashes and Rocket's going to fix the ship so that they can go and, blah, blah, blah. Everybody goes their separate ways, but the team decides that. Something really unusual to see, but it leads us to this great scene where we get the undeniable sound of Glenn Campbell coming in with Southern Nights.
Beautiful.
Yeah, if you would have told me that I would ever see a movie where a walking, talking raccoon is humming to Southern Nights, I never would have believed it.
But he did.
And it works so well. It's so fun. It's so fun.
Great scene.
Yeah,
And it
and
establishes, I think, Rocket, as we said before, he can do everything. I
Yep.
mean, he's a one-man army.
as your father has said, there ain't a thing that man can't do. And it's so true.
He's so much more than just a simple trash panda.
Triangle-faced monkey.
Oh, that scene was so heartbreaking because
I
Ego
was
calls
like-
him a triangle-faced monkey, and then he's feeling his nose. Poor dude.
I might have shed a tear, just a little,
Yeah.
just one, but
Speaking of shedding tears, on the last Guardians of the Galaxy review, we discussed the question of whether or not raccoons sweat. And since then, we have gone out into the great wide world of the internet to answer this question just for you. So, do raccoons sweat?
The answer is raccoons have little in the way of sweat glands. So to expel heat from their bodies, they sweat on their hands and feet, but will also pant. Normally, however, they will cool off and stream. This is why they are nocturnal for the most part. Now, I don't know if he's going to agree with that or not, but that's what Google says.
I also sweat through my hands, so
I'm sweating through my hands right now.
same.
You guys are
yeah.
part raccoon.
Yeah.
Don't call me a
Don't
raccoon.
call us raccoons.
Jackass!
Well, there you have it. If anybody ever tells you that the Dude Seriously show is not educational, you can tell them they're wrong.
Dude, seriously.
I would be remiss not to say that our catchphrase is said in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, not once, but twice. Dude Seriously is said by none other than Star-Lord.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. So the first time is when they're being attacked by the Sovereign people, thank you, and they're flying the ship, and Star-Lord and Rocket are fighting for control of the ship. Star-Lord says,
Dude, seriously!
and then the second one, which is arguably like actually even more funny, is in the post-credit scene. Star-Lord goes into Groot's bedroom and there's vines everywhere and it's messy and Groot's playing video games and he steps in and he says,
Ugh, dude, seriously?
and it is just too funny. And now would be a great time to explain why we call the Dude Seriously show the Dude Seriously show.
It's all this guy. That's his catchphrase. Yeah, dude, seriously. You can hear it on almost any conversation you have with him.
Just about.
Yeah.
Just about.
And
So
that's how it was born.
Dude, seriously.
I
I
can't ask
pointed
for
it
these
out,
things.
and he says it, and there you go.
Yeah. So hey, I mean, I'm glad to have a catchphrase. That's a nice thing. And the best catchphrases are the ones that you don't intentionally make.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a natural.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something about imitation being the highest form of flattery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But hey,
Dude, seriously.
dude, seriously.
Dude, seriously.
Dude, serious.
Well, as tradition, whenever I'm on.
Oh, you
the
do
show-
a Stan Lee impression.
Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, there was this one time when I was a Federal Express worker. Are you Tony Stank?
Which is so awesome. We find out that after all this time, Stan Lee is a watcher, somebody that watches the entire unfoldings of the Marvel Universe. That explains why Stan Lee's everywhere.
Classic.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
amazing, amazing cameo.
Yep.
So the final after credit scene, because this one has several during the credit and after credit scenes, we see that the Sovereign is, I guess, harvesting Adam Warlock, who in the comics figured in predominantly into the Infinity Crisis, the Infinity War, which is coming up. But you were saying that he's not supposed to be involved with that.
James Gunn has confirmed that Adam Warlock will not appear until Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, maybe it's a bit of hearsay so that people don't get too excited, but James Gunn has always been pretty true to his word when he tells the general public about things like this. So, pretty safe to say we're not going to see Adam Warlock. But like you said, I mean, you think Adam Warlock, and it's like a Pavlov's dog response to think Infinity War. So the fact that he's not going to be in it is kind of sad, but I trust that Marvel has big plans for him going forward. And with that, we're going to bring our review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 to a close. I think we can all say this is probably in the top tier for us. This is my number 2 MCU film, personally.
Definitely top 3 for me.
Definitely top 3, maybe even 2.
I would say 3 or 4 on my list.
Okay, so we can even say top 4. Even better. Man, that is awesome. And it brings us 1 week closer to Avengers Infinity War. So let us know in the comments below what you thought of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And dude, seriously, we'll see you on the next one. So in this movie,
I'm sorry.
bam!
Hold up there.
There you go!
Okay, all right, I'm good.
All
I'm
right.
good.